Thanks for being here. Subscribe to Cheating Stories Best, so you don't miss new stories.
Your wife's longtime friend is definitely just a friend? Today we have a story with a story like that. Enjoy the show! Tom had just returned from a 2-week business trip and was sleeping for a long time on Friday morning until he heard voices downstairs. He heard his wife Tammy's voice and thought she was talking on her cell phone, but then he heard a man's voice. After going to the bathroom, he put on gray sweatpants and headed downstairs. "Oh God, this is wonderful," Tammy said. "You're really coming back to town?" Tom slowly walked around the corner and saw a tall blonde man sitting across from her at the kitchen table. "Hey, what's going on, Tom?" Volume remembered how I told you that my childhood best friend might move back to the city. "He is here." "This is Sam." Sam repeated. All these years, he thought Sam was short for Samantha and decided that Tammy's best friend was a woman. "Oh wow, this is great, honey." He felt goosebumps run through his body. He immediately noticed that the well-built man was not wearing a wedding ring. "Tom, Tammy has told me so much about you, so much that it seems to me that I have known you for a very long time." He stood up and extended his hand for a handshake. Tom was not prepared for the death grip and closed his eyes in pain as the strong fingers squeezed tighter and tighter. Oops, sorry," Sam chuckled before letting go of his hand. Tom shook his hand, wondering if anything was broken. "So when are you actually moving back?" "The van delivered my things yesterday, so I have a lot of work to do." "Honey, I know we talked about dismantling the boat today, but Sam needs help, and I told him I'd come by this afternoon. You can come too if you're not busy." "Did you talk?" "We agreed to take the boat out of the dry dock and start it up to get it ready for tomorrow's trip on the lake with Gina and Greg," Sam interrupted. "It's okay, I have a week to get the house in a livable condition." Tom saw that his wife was upset. "Hey, you know what? First, I need to start the engine and have a mechanic check everything. Go and help Sam." She smiled and moved forward to hug him. When she stood up, he saw that she was wearing a very thin robe, and he could tell that there was no bra. "Thank you, honey." He was ready to kiss her lips, but she turned and kissed him on the cheek. "Oh, and Sam doesn't have electricity or running water, so I told him he could stay in the spare bedroom until Monday or Tuesday. This is normal, right?" Tom had heard enough. "It was nice to meet you, Sam." He turned and went back upstairs. As he stood without clothes, adjusting the temperature of the shower water, he heard the door open. "It was rude," she said, "to just leave like that." He tried to control his anger. "Damn, Tam, I told you 3 times that we need to work on the boat today. Besides, how long have you known that boy Sam was moving here?" "A few weeks, but I forgot to tell you, and I'm just as surprised as you that he just showed up here this morning. Why are you acting like this? He's just a friend, and that's all. Just a friend for whom you abandoned our plans today with me to help him. Go and help him move. I do not care. Now go away and let me take a shower, please." "Tom, you're being unreasonable, and I'm not going to talk to you when you're like that. I'll talk to you later about dinner." She turned and left. As she finished breakfast, she thought about her relationship with Sam. It all started in 3rd grade on the school playground when another boy tripped her, causing her to fall and skin her elbow. She was about to stand up and swing at him when she saw him fly face first into the swing. "Thank you," she said to the unfamiliar boy and stood up, rubbing her elbow. "Are you new here?" "Yes, I'm Samuel," he grinned. "Your hand is bleeding, and you need to go to the nurse." "I will go with you." After that, they did everything together. At 9 years old, they loved playing video games and watching movies on TV. Everyone teased them that they were in love, but they both said that they were only friends. A month later, they played on the same soccer team and loved to rollerblade on Saturday mornings. Sam practically moved into Tammy's house since his parents worked different shifts at the hospital. He began taking her family on vacation to the beaches of Delaware, and her parents treated him like a son. This continued throughout high school, but the sleepovers stopped when she hit puberty and began to grow chest. Things got awkward, but they continued to hang out with other friends. They dated other people, but they never became romantically involved. A month before the prom, he asked her to go with him. "With you?" She grinned, but when she saw his face, she realized that she had ruined everything. I mean, you're like a brother to me," and again she saw how sad his face became. "I mean, forget I asked," he snapped. He started to get up from the sofa and leave, but she grabbed his hand. "Let me go. Stop and listen to me. I love you, Sam, but you're my best friend forever, and I don't want to lose that." He took a deep breath and sat back down. "I know and feel the same, but I don't have a partner, and this will just be fun, no romance. You are special to me, and I want to remember this ball for the rest of my life." Sam rented a tuxedo and a limousine and stood proudly in the doorway before ringing the doorbell. Tammy's mom, Betty, answered and gasped. "Oh my God, look at you. You are no longer a boy," her father said, walking up to his wife. "I have to worry about what you're going to do after graduation." Sam blushed. "No, sir. My intentions are noble. You have nothing to worry about." "Dad, let him in, please," Tammy screamed. The door opened, and Sam froze because her dress was beautiful and hugged every inch of her body. For the first time, he noticed her cleavage. "Wow," Tammy blushed. "Come in, silly. It's just me." After Betty took photos of them together, hugging and even kissing on the lips, they hurried to the limo. "I feel like Cinderella," she whispered, falling next to him and holding his strong hand. "And tonight, you are my prince." They were both completely caught up in the moment. As they danced, she rested her head on his shoulder. For the first time, she felt his arousal in the upper part of her stomach and grinned, moving even closer. As the light faded and the music began, she threw her face back and closed her eyes. She didn't have to wait long. When their lips touched and their tongues met and played together, they didn't notice that they were photographed by a yearbook photographer. "Tammy, I thought you didn't want to," he whispered as she rubbed her chest against his body. "I also want tonight to be special, only today, and tomorrow we will again become best friends forever." They were both satisfied and she said, "I think we're better friends than lovers." She giggled. A few minutes later, they dressed timidly, and he called a limousine to take them home. "Well, that ruined everything," she joked as they lightly kissed on the threshold of her house. After the ball, they stopped dating, and a few months later, they left for college far away from each other. Just before leaving, he wrote her a letter in which he apologized for going to the hotel with her and hoped that she did not hate him. She saved his letter for future memories. Over the Christmas holidays, she was surprised when he rang her parents' doorbell holding a gift. "Sam, what are you doing here?" "Tammy, I've missed my best friend so much, it's killing me. We screwed up at prom, and I want to see if we can completely forget about it and start over." Tears flowed from her brown eyes. "Oh God, yes. I want my best friend back." She jumped into his arms and hugged him until her mother came to the door. "Who's there, Sam? Is it you? Thank God you made peace. Come on in and join us for dinner." They spent holidays and summers together for the next 4 years, but were never able to become best friends again. After graduating from college, he called and said that he had moved away with the girl he was dating and was now married. However, they continued to correspond every month. "I still value our friendship," Sam wrote to her one day, "but my wife is very jealous, and when I told her about you, she lost her temper and said that I should break up with you, otherwise. She just can't accept that we could be so close and not sleep together. I understand, and I will be there for you if you need a friend again. Take care of yourself, and know that you are special to me." That was the last she heard from him until a few months ago when he emailed her that he was moving back to town. He wrote that he was now divorced and needed to return to his roots, and he hoped that they could renew their special, close friendship. So, the flow of emails and messages resumed. Tammy was wearing jeans and a loose t-shirt and was sitting at the table when Tom came down the stairs. She expected him to go into the kitchen, but he walked down the hallway towards the garage. She hurried to meet him at the door. "Are you just going to leave without saying anything?" He didn't look in her direction. "I have nothing to say." "Obviously, you do too. I want to know if you're going on the yacht tomorrow with Greg and Gina or if you're going to play house with your boyfriend." "Tom, you're acting like a big jerk, and it's pissing me off. Besides, I told you about Sam." Before she finished, he closed the door. "Well, this really sucks," Tammy sighed. Her best friend returned to her, but this put a wall between her and her husband. Sam had told her that his wife always got upset when he mentioned his special friendship with her, and now the same thing was happening in her life. She called Sam, told him about Tom, and asked when she could come see him. "Tammy, I think we need to cool down. It's obvious that Tom doesn't want me to stay at your house until Monday. Besides, you should go help him prepare the boat. I wouldn't ask you to help me unpack if I knew you already had plans. He's acting like an idiot, and I'm coming to help you. I have your address, and I will arrive soon. Bye. I'm being stupid over little things," Tom said to himself later that day. After the mechanic checked the boat's motor, he says they were always just friends, and she's never lied to me before. "I'll buy some beer on the way home and try to be friends with this guy." When he pulled into the garage, he noticed that her car was still missing, and it was already almost 6 o'clock in the evening. He checked his phone and didn't see any messages. First, she left me to help him unpack, and now she won't even text me to tell me when she's coming home or if we're going to dinner. Damn, I need to stop talking to myself. 30 minutes later, he was coming out of the shower and heard them laughing on the first floor. He stood on tiptoe again and listened. "You look so serious in your graduation photo," Sam laughed as they looked at her old school yearbook. "Hey, you look like a nerd," she exclaimed, leaning over and punching his strong arm. He kept laughing, and suddenly she jumped on his back and made him fall sideways onto the sofa next to her. When Tom entered, her upper half was lying on his body, and she was lightly hitting him. "Well, what's so funny?" Sam quickly picked her up and took her off of him. "We were just looking at old school photos." He hoped Tom wouldn't be angry that their bodies were so close. When Tom laughed, he relaxed a little. "Ha, I don't remember seeing these photos." "Show them to me." Tammy was still pissed off and wasn't ready for her husband to move onto the couch and squeeze himself between her and Sam. "Is it really you, Tam?" She relaxed, hoping that her husband would not behave as before. She wrapped her arms around his shoulders and rubbed her soft-sized 3 chest against his side. "Yes, it's me. Am I not beautiful?" she joked. For the next half hour, Sam and Tammy showed him around the other kids in their class, and everyone became relaxed and calm. "Let's order pizza," Tom suggested. "Unless you two haven't already eaten." "Sorry, baby, we didn't have lunch, and we're hungry. We thought you ate something at the Leaky, so we went to Maggie and got a burger." "You could call or text me," he said, trying not to show his resentment at being ignored. "I think I'll call and order myself a small pizza." "Okay?" "I'll show Sam the spare bedroom and get him some towels so he can take a shower." "I'll accept too, and then we'll all talk so you guys can get to know each other better." She leaned down to kiss him, and again, only on the cheek. After Tom ordered pizza delivery, he heard the shower upstairs turn on, sat down with a beer, and looked at the album again. He saw her photo and Sam's comment about how they would always be best friends. Flipping through more photos, he saw pictures from the prom and wondered who Tammy's date was. He froze when he saw the photo of her sitting at the table next to Sam. Just friends, right? Turning the page, he almost dropped the album. She was in Sam's arms, dancing intimately, their eyes closed and lips parted, kissing. "This?" He sighed, throwing the album across the room. When it landed and opened, a small envelope fell out. He walked over and saw that it was addressed to Tammy. Opening it, he quickly read the letter and tossed it on top of the yearbook. After a few seconds, he grabbed the car keys and left the house. Tammy felt good and smiled as she put on cotton pajamas, a robe, and slippers. She knew that Tom would be happy that tomorrow she would go on a boat with their friends. She heard the doorbell ring, signaling that the pizza had been delivered, and she heard it again and again. "He's probably in the bathroom downstairs," she thought, and hurried downstairs to open the door. "Everything is paid, ma'am," said the young guy, handing her a flat box. She brought it into the kitchen and shouted, "Your pizza is here, Tom." She heard nothing and began to look for him. He wasn't in the bathroom, and when she looked into the room, she saw an open album on the floor and an open letter that Sam had written to her many years ago. No, please no. It was the same letter in which Sam mentioned that after the prom, he went to a motel with her. She collapsed to the floor and saw Sam's bare feet next to her. "What's happened?" Sam asked, kneeling down next to her. Tom found and read the letter you sent me. He knows we had a night at the motel after graduation. Damn, Tam, I thought you tore that letter. How are we going to fix this? Tammy took the phone from her purse on the hallway table and called Tom, beeping and beeping until finally it said, "Hi, this is Tom. Leave a message, beep." "Tom, please come back and let me explain everything. The prom and the motel were a big mistake and terrible for both of us. Trust me when I tell you that we are just good friends. Darling, I love only you and want only you to be in my bed. Please come home." She waited for more than an hour and called again. Meanwhile, Sam was watching TV and waiting to see if Tom would call her back. It was 11 o'clock when he went upstairs and packed his bag. Tammy sat at the kitchen table, looking at her phone. She raised her head and saw that he was dressed and holding his small bag in his hands. "Where are you going?" "I've created enough problems. I remember what it did to my wife when she found out about you and our special friendship. I will not be the reason for your divorce as it happened to me. Call me when you're alone." She wanted to argue for him to stay, but she knew it would be better if he left for now. In the meantime, she needed to mitigate the damage. "Okay, I'm very sorry that this happened." She moved closer to him to hug him and didn't want to let him go. She tilted her head back and looked into his eyes. They suddenly realized that this closeness was the reason why Tom was so angry. "Good night," he answered her in kind and left. She sent Tom a message, "Sam's gone, so please come home and let's talk, please. I love you, honey." She sat on the sofa until 1 o'clock in the morning when she felt herself falling asleep. The next moment, she realized that it was already light outside. After visiting the toilet in the hall, she looked into the garage and saw Tom's car. "He's home," she whispered to herself. Tom entered the house after 2 o'clock in the morning and saw his wife sleeping on the sofa. He considered waking her up but was still upset that she lied about Sam and her being just friends. No matter what kind of relationship they had now, there was no way he could trust both of them now. He had only one choice. He too was awakened by the bright light of the morning sun. As he rolled over, he felt her soft chest pressing against his bare back. "Good morning," Tammy whispered, nibbling his ear. "I'm so glad you came home." Her hand moved to his thigh and slid under his pajamas. Within seconds, he was horny. She began to give him caresses, but he pulled away from her. "Tom, what happened?" "Sorry, but now I won't accept intim from you out of guilt. What did you two do after I left last night? How can you blame me for this? I have never cheated on you, and I never will. I didn't tell you about that night with Sam because it didn't mean anything, and besides, it was long before I met you. We're just friends, and when you get to know him better, you'll understand. That's it. It's time to make a decision for you, Tammy. You have to choose him or me." "Oh my God, you're serious, right? What if I don't choose?" "Not making a choice is the same as choosing it. I'm going out on the yacht today with Greg and Gina and we'll be back around 8 p.m., so you have this time to make a decision." "Tom, wait," but he was no longer there and she collapsed on the bed, crying. "So, where's Tammy?" Gina asked, leaning on Tom's hand as she got into the boat. "A friend came to her city without warning and she stayed at home, so it was just the three of us. Actually, Greg and I are having some problems right now, so I decided to join you and Tammy. Damn, I really need company right now." "I promise to be a gentleman," he grinned, looking at the pretty brown-haired girl who was his college friend, whom he introduced Greg to 2 years ago. "Actually, I probably need your advice on something." "I trust you," she smiled, throwing her bag onto the deck. "I also need rest now, so let's share our tips." They were silent as he steered the boat on the lake and dropped anchor in the small deserted bay. Suddenly, several dark clouds appeared, and it began to rain. They laughed and jumped into the water. While they were splashing around and trying to dip each other, the sun came out, and they climbed back into the boat. They took towels and dried each other off. After that, they grabbed some beer and wine and moved to the soft cushions at the back of the boat. "Who wants to be first?" she asked. "I am," Tom sighed, leaning back on the soft seat. Over the next 20 minutes, he told Gina everything that had happened since he found his wife and Sam at the breakfast table. I really want to believe her, but she lied to me about the prom. Well, she hid it from you, that's true, and it looks like Sam is more than just a best friend. But I can't believe she cheated on you. Can a man and a woman be such close friends and having crossed the line once do it again? I mean, his ex-wife thought there was more between them than just friendship. Maybe it is, but I just don't know. I asked her to choose between us, and she didn't seem to want to. I don't know. I mean, you and I were friends before Greg and I got married, and I have special feelings for you too. When we recently had a fight about money and my job, you were the first person I wanted to talk to. Maybe this is the case. She can't understand how I can think there's something else going on, so maybe we can do the same thing. I mean, as long as it doesn't ruin your relationship with Greg. Actually, it might work for me too. He takes me for granted, and I haven't seen flowers or had dates in months. Great, so what are your plans for tomorrow? Well, since we both love tennis, let me pick you up tomorrow, and we'll spend the day at the club. Also, these two seem to think that touching each other and fighting is okay. Sounds good, but let's not go too far because I've always been partial to you. Yes, me too, he grinned, looking at her beautiful, elastic tan hips. Tammy still had tears in her eyes and looked at her watch nervously. When it was already about 6 p.m., she decided to call Gina and find out where they were. When she didn't answer, she called Greg. Hey, Tammy, how are you? He sat alone at home and watched the NFL game. She could hear the noise of a football match in the background. Have you returned from your boat trip? Did not go. I decided to stay at home. Aren't you on a boat? I didn't go either. It's complicated. It's also difficult. Probably Gina and Tom went together. I think so. Yes. Do you want to talk about it? She asked, slightly concerned that Tom was left alone with Gina all day. She said that I no longer pay attention to her and treat her like a maid and cook. That she had no friends or interests outside of our house. He hesitated. So I told her to get off her fifth place and do something. Obviously, this was the wrong decision. She said she would go to the yacht and do something without me. So there you go. Her phone buzzed, and she saw Sam's name. We have to go. Good luck, she said sadly into the phone. Do you hear anything? What are you going to do? I will understand if you say that we should cut all ties. We screwed up with this letter, and it's not like we won't screw up in the future if we've already screwed up. Don't worry, I have other friends. It's a pity. I'm sorry, Sam, but Tom is everything to me, and I can't lose him. Maybe someday he will understand our friendship. Goodbye. She hung up and started crying again. Later that day, she decided to meet the boat at the dock. The boat was moored and tied, and Tom and Gina's thighs were touching as if they couldn't see Tammy. Hello, they heard Tammy scream. Gina quickly moved away with a guilty look. Hi, Tam, we really missed you today. Greg couldn't make it, so it was just me and my old friend. Gina came down from the captain's bridge without a t-shirt, dressed only in a tiny bikini. Her size 3 chests were bursting out. She had to hold back her laughter as Tom turned and stared at her demonstration. She laughed and waved her right index finger at him. You're a dirty L. Tom could tell from her body language that Tammy was very tense and upset. He looked at his watch. It's only 7 p.m., so Gina and I will finish here and meet you at home at 8 p.m. to talk. Tammy was furious with what she saw and was ready to tell him that Sam would be in her life if you don't want it, go to hell. But she realized that this was about the same thing that Tom felt when he saw her wrestling on the couch with Sam. In addition, she had the fact that Sam was moving back to the city. If he insisted that she leave Sam, she would do the same with Gina. Except he didn't sleep with Gina, at least not as far as she knew. She wasn't sure what she would do as she drove back to their house. It was almost 8 in the evening when she heard Tom enter the house. She was angry about what she saw on the boat between him and Gina. He felt boredom and indifference sitting on the sofa and pretending to read a magazine. Hello, I'm home, he said loudly. Well, have you made a decision? Him or me? Both. You are like my husband, and he is like my best friend. The final answer, she said sharply without looking up from the magazine. I told you. That means you chose him. It tells me where I am. He quickly climbed the stairs and went to the shower. I can't be sure you'll refuse. How about Gina and you are also alone on the yacht today? I saw her hug you and press her big chest into your back. I wondered where her arms were wrapped around your lower body. You two were friends long before we met, so how do I know you didn't do anything? First of all, I never knew Sam was a guy. I knew you were communicating via email, and it never bothered me. Then I heard when he showed up at my house that he had moved here. Then you rushed to help him move and abandon our plan to go boating. Only later do I find out that you two were together at school, kissing and having intimate. Gina and I were just friends. We never kissed, except on New Year's Eve, and there was no tongue-in-cheek like in your album. You can trust me, trust Sam and me. We don't feel that way about each other. Please, Tom, don't make me give up my best friend. I will give it up if it becomes a big problem that comes between us, but give us a chance. She turned in his direction and pulled him towards her, and soon they were kissing and making love. Do not stop. I love you, she screamed, exploding with bliss, but did not notice that he had not reached the finish line. The next morning she slept longer than usual and woke up to find him gone. She found a note on a small white marker board in the kitchen. Playing tennis with Gina. I'll see you later. Maybe we'll have dinner at the club. Go help Sam move. Tom, on the one hand, she was glad that Sam was back, but on the other, she was worried that Tom and Gina would be together, especially since Greg had problems with her. She called Sam. I thought we broke up, Sam said, surprised by her call. Everything has changed. I will come to help you move and tell you everything. Gina was hesitant to enter the house after she broke up with Tom. She was still thinking about Tom's tight hug and wet kiss before parting. Lately, Greg and she had been doing nothing but arguing about stuff. She had finally given vent to her anger at how he had taken her for granted and wondered if he would change. Hello, I'm at home. Nothing. Hello, Greg? Nothing. She walked into their bathroom and saw a note written on the mirror. The thing's between us right now, and it's mostly me to blame. I hate my job, and I need to leave for a couple of weeks. I will not be in contact. Greg. What a man, she whispered and took the phone to call him. When it went to voicemail, she hung up. Typical cowardly behavior on your part, Greg. You don't solve any problems, you just put your tail between your legs and run away. I hope you find yourself because I wash my hands of it. She hoped that her trip on the yacht without him would unsettle him, and he would begin to appreciate her again. Luckily, she still had Tom. She wondered what happened when he ran into Tammy again. She smiled when she received a text from him. See you tomorrow at the club at 10 a.m. Court 4 is reserved. The next week, everyone calmed down. Tammy continued to help Sam with the move, and Tom and Gina got together for lunch and played tennis. No one seemed jealous or did anything that crossed the line between friendships. But on Friday, Greg's sister told Gina that Greg had gone on a cruise, and not alone. Gina realized it was all over and called Tom. Could you come? I need someone to be with me. What's happened? Greg returned home? Are you okay? No and no, but I can't talk on the phone. Tammy and I will be with you in a few minutes. Tom, I only want you to come. I think Greg and I are done, and I need your company. Okay, I understand. He hoped Tammy would understand too. Tammy was putting on her pajamas when Tom entered the bedroom. She saw a worried look on his face. What's happened? Gina just called and said something bad happened, and she wants me to come. I'll call later and let you know what's going on. It's already 9 o'clock. Can it wait until tomorrow morning if it's that bad? I'll go with you. She only wants me, honey, her best friend. He hurried to the bathroom and brushed his teeth. Maybe you should shave and put on some cologne, she teased, watching him spit out toothpaste, and I think there are protection in the nightstand. Well, who's acting like a hero? You can't have it both ways. She needs me, and I'm leaving. He left and sat at the kitchen table as he hurried out the door. Call me. Gina decided that Greg just needed a little break from work and life in general. She assumed he had gone to his family's lake house, but was shocked when she learned he had gone on a cruise with another woman. No wonder he treated me like a cook and a maid. He got his pleasure somewhere else. A few minutes later, Tom rang her doorbell. As soon as he walked inside, she threw herself into his arms. "I'm so glad you came," her arms wrapped around his neck and her legs wrapped around his waist. He stood straight and tense. Let me close the door, okay? Are you okay?" Yes, I knew my marriage was in trouble, but I didn't expect him to leave town with another woman. What should I do? She tried to hug him again with her soft body, but he pulled away and headed towards the kitchen. "Do you have beer?" "Damn, that's almost all we have." Greg finishes 6 bottles almost every night, except 2 nights of bowling. Damn, he probably went on a cruise with Elsie. She's a divorcee woman on his bowling team. Several times when I went there, she was hanging on him. He said it was just flirting, like I had with you. He ignored this as he looked away from her silky light blue robe, but not before noticing that her ample, well-formed chest were not wearing a bra. "And what do you want to do with it?" "I'm done with him and have been for a long time. I keep my money in a separate account, so I have enough if I need it. The director of my school has a brother who is a lawyer, and he said that he would help me prepare the documents. Do you mind going to the office? It's more convenient there." As they walked down the hallway, his phone buzzed. It was Tammy. He didn't answer. Will she be angry that you came here alone? I don't know. She's been at Shitty Sam's house alone quite often since he got back. You know what's good for the goose. Do you think they had an intimate relationship? I don't think so because I think she wants to stay married to me. But to have him around, I don't trust him. His wife divorced him for some reason, and I need to find out why. Well, I want you to be there too. I feel so alone now. Even when I worked as a cook and maid, I had someone I could talk to. Tears fell from her cheeks as she fell onto the sofa, unable to bear her tears. He knelt down next to her and hugged her. I'm here for you. Their eyes met, and their lips pressed against each other. Tammy tried to think about something else, but she was nervous that Tom would be seduced by this harlot. It seemed like Greg and Gina's marriage was falling apart, and she didn't want to become a victim. She fell asleep at midnight, and after a while, she heard the door open. Tom, is it you? She exclaimed, jumping up and looking around the doorway. Who else could it be unless you gave Sam the key to the house? He immediately regretted what he said. I'm sorry. She looked at the clock and saw that it was already 2 o'clock in the morning. It took you 5 hours to talk to her to calm her down. Maybe I should ask what the hell is going on. It's late, and we're both stressed. I think we need to postpone this conversation until tomorrow morning, he sighed and struggled up to their bedroom. When he came out of the bathroom, he saw her in bed looking at him. I love you, Tom. I love you too. No matter how tired they were, they found it difficult to sleep. Tom woke up the next morning and was walking downstairs when he heard her talking to someone on the phone and stopped to listen. I can't. I told you we should take a break. I have no idea when or if we will be able to see each other again. No, and stop sending me messages and emails. She was angry because Sam took her too far the last time they were together. She knew her marriage was in danger since Tom spent most of last night with Gina. She loved him and wasn't going to give him up that easily. She heard the shower turn on upstairs and hurried to prepare breakfast and return to her husband. Good morning, honey, she smiled, walking around the table and hugging him. Forgive me for my comment about Gina last night. I believe that you will never cross the line with another woman, and I most certainly will not cross it with any man. Tammy, last night Gina felt so bad and was so hurt that He saw her smile turned upside down and her eyes turned from honey to coal. Wait, you, Tom? I had nothing serious with Sam, and you blame me for all the sins? Damn you for having someone else eat, Tammy. Let me finish, please. But she turned, grabbed her purse, and ran out the door. He tried to stop her, but her car had already left the house and was driving down the street as he stood on the steps in his shorts. He ran into the house, grabbed his phone, and sent her a verbal message. We didn't have intim. Please let me explain, and don't do what I think you're going to do. If you do, it's over between us, so please come back." She was frantic and flew down the road, hurrying to Sam's house. She was wearing only silky black pajamas and no underwear. It didn't bother her because soon she would get rid of it and have intimate with her best friend. At the railway crossing, a train was driving across the road, which slowed down its movement for a long time. This gave her time to calm down and collect her thoughts. She took a deep breath and recognized the name of the street next to the tracks. Gina was still thinking about what happened last night with Tom, how he had come to soothe the pain her husband had caused. He had always been her knight in shining armor and had helped her out many times since they met in freshman year English class. After talking to him about how good it was to know everything, now that they didn't have kids, she relaxed and moved closer to him so he could snuggle against her on the couch. Neither of them planned what happened next. She was distracted from her memories by the doorbell. She opened the door expecting to see Tom and saw Tammy's angry face. She was about to say good morning when the woman's right palm hit her in the face. You should have followed my man, right, Gina?" Being stronger and heavier, Gina lowered her head and slammed her body into Tammy's. Both women flew through the door onto the wet lawn, which was being watered. Gina landed on top of Tammy and quickly pinned her hands to her head. "Stop it! What do you think happened last night?" Tammy growled and tried to get up and push her away, but Gina was too heavy. "Okay, I give up." "Let me get up, and we can talk," Tammy said, realizing she had no other choice. Both women were soaked to the skin and staggered on their hands and knees. They both looked like drowned rats. The hair on their heads was matted and twisted. "Are you okay?" asked the female voice. Tammy looked back and saw her elder neighbor Elsie standing at the door next door. Tom was worried that his wife would go and ruin her marriage to Sam to get even for what she thought he did to Gina. He hurried to get dressed and quickly went to Sam. He was surprised not to see Tammy's car, but knocked on the man's door anyway. "Open up. I know she's there." "What the hell is going on, Tom?" Sam asked just before the angry man pushed him hard in the back. "Hey!" Sam shouted, staggering and ready to defend himself. "She's not here." "Where is she?" "Are you going to meet her somewhere?" Tom asked, trying to calm down. "I have no idea." "She's your wife." "Well, we need to talk. Don't give me any about how you only want to be Tammy's best friend. I see in your eyes that you love her and want to see her in your bed." Sam walked past him and closed the door. "Let's talk." He led Tom into the living room and sat down opposite him on the sofa. "You are right. I love and always have loved Tammy, but she doesn't feel the same way about me. Believe me, I tried to make her love me, but she always laughed and stopped any romance between us. I thought marrying a wonderful woman would cure me, but I couldn't stop thinking about trying again with your wife. So, I broke up with my wife and moved here for one last try. I knew I didn't stand a chance when I met you until Gina came along last week. While you two were playing tennis, I took Tammy to listen to the music we listened to at school. We ended up dancing and kissing. I told her that Gina and you were probably doing the same thing, and suddenly she attacked me. If you tell me you had intimate with her, I'll kill your sorry fifth place," Tom growled. Sam extended his hand. "No, it didn't come to that. But we already undressed and went into your bedroom. If it weren't for your damn wedding photo on the dresser, I would have had a chance." She ran to the bathroom and locked the door. I knocked several times, but she told me to leave and that we could never be together again. I stopped all communication with her and began to move on with my life. If you want to hit me, go ahead. I deserve it. He stood up and hoped Tom wouldn't do it. He made a mistake and did not see the blow but felt it crash into his left jaw. He fell and lost consciousness. Where the hell is she? He had no one to ask. Then it dawned on him. Damn, she went after Gina. Gina and Tammy were completely wet from watering the lawn and were dripping onto the hallway floor. They looked at each other's tousled hair and wet tight pajamas and suddenly realized how stupid they looked in front of Gina's neighbor. Tom told me what happened, that you two were having intim last night when he came here, Tammy said to her number one enemy. She decided to lie to get Gina to admit it. I would like to, Gina sighed, but this damn man is too damn in love with you. Damn it. I was ready when he grabbed my head, looked me in the eyes, and said, "This won't happen. My wife may cheat on me, but I will not do the same while we are still married." I tried again, but Tammy quickly stopped her, doing what her brother taught her years ago. She slammed her fist from her right hip up under Gina's chin. The shorter Italian's eyes rolled back into her head, and she pressed her back against the closet door and sank into her fifth place. It suddenly became very dark for Gina. Tom drove past Gina's house but didn't see Tammy's car. He had no idea where she had gone but decided to go to the nearest clinic to have the fingers of his right hand examined. He knew at least one of them was broken after he hit Sam. There were a lot of people there, so the receptionist took his insurance card, and he was about to sit down when he heard his wife's voice. "I told you that I don't have a Blue Cross card because I don't have my purse with me. Let me call my husband, and he can give you information." Tammy took the woman's phone and called Tom. She heard the familiar telephone signal loud and clear and knew he was close. She quickly turned around to see him standing behind her, holding his buzzing phone. "What? What are you?" She grinned, raising her fingers, twisted in pain, just like him. Tom looked at the girl behind the counter. "The other woman has information about our insurance. Let's sit down." Tammy followed him to a quiet corner of the waiting area. He couldn't help but grin, and she did the same before they leaned towards each other and kissed. She pressed her lips to his ear and whispered, "I don't think any of us have best friends anymore. We still need to work on our marriage, but how about we become each other's best friends?" Tom whispered back before saying, "I love you." "I love you too." Sam packed up, moved back to his previous city, and tried to move back in with his ex-wife, but she slammed the door in his face. It looks like he built an actual shrine to Tammy in the attic of their house, which she found after several attempts to contact Tammy again. He finally gave up and found a waitress at a nearby truck stop, whom he married. Her name was Tammy. Greg contracted CLAP while on a cruise and passed it on to several women. After returning to town, he married again, to a woman who was an excellent maid and cook. Gina decided to become a female professional boxer and fought 2 fights. Both times she was knocked out by a subtle uppercut. Tammy and Tom settled down and had 5 children, none of them named Samantha, Samuel, or Gina. What do you think of the wife's behavior? How would you react if you were the husband? Write your opinion in the comments. See you in the next videos.